If you look around the world these days, most of us feel very lucky to live in Canada. And to listen to American comedian, actor, and musician Dave Hill, or actually his Canadian grandfather, that's because Canada is the greatest nation on earth. The grandson, all kidding aside, is proud of his roots in this country and recently set out to discover the truth for himself. The result is his new book, Parking the Moose, one American's epic quest to uncover his incredible Canadian roots. And Dave Hill joins us now on that. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Although I gotta say, that is one ugly jacket you are wearing. That is incredibly,
You think so?
Dave, that's very provocative. You know I'm the biggest Leaf fan in the world. Well, you don't know. Maybe you didn't know, but you know now.
Well, I'm more a lover of the game.
Than that jacket.
And it's a cooler logo than the Leafs.
I don't know, man.
Maybe not. I don't know. I
Not
go
anymore.
back and forth.
We got the Jagged Edge logo back. It's all
It
beautiful.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I should get rid of this jacket.
Totally. I'm totally for that. Would you mind taking that off? And that way we're going to get along a whole lot better?
Fine.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate
To be
that.
honest, I don't think it's been washed since the 80s.
I agree, I can tell. Okay, well, while you're doing that, shall we take a little look at a little bit of video and just let the folks know a bit more?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. Sheldon, if you would, please.
Parking the moose. My grandpa was from Canada, so I decided to uncover my incredible Canadian roots. I traveled through Canada near and far. I ate more poutine than 10,000 rocket Richards. That's a lot of cheese curd, Parking the Moose. It's my book about Canada. It's a fascinating country, it's easy to see. I could have written 50 chapters on just Geddy Lee.
That is outstanding, man.
Thank you.
I love you repping the Quebec Nordiques jersey. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
You're pretty good on skates, too.
Yeah, well, I had to.
I know you got this family Canadian connection, but why do you dig Canada so much?
Well, partially my grandfather talking about it when I was growing up, saying how great he always said it was so much better than America. So I was like, I got to check this place out.
You're from Cleveland.
I'm from Cleveland.
Well, so I can understand why we look so much better than you already.
Well, watch it. No. But so that, and then, I grew up a huge hockey fan, so I knew where every player was from. And, Clark Gillies from Moose Jaw, Bobby Clark from Flin Flon. So I knew these were all, these magical lands. I was like, I have to get to these places someday. So that was part of it. And then as an adult, just the fact that I think most Americans, despite Canada being, right above us, most Americans don't really know much about your magical country.
We're not that displeased about that, truth be told. Seems to us the countries you pay a lot of attention to.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, yeah, you're in. But I just, I'm not gonna, I guess people are gonna find out now, because of my book. But yeah, I just wanted to see more of the country and learn more, and hopefully get to some hockey games.
Which you did, and
I
you
did,
write about
finally.
it in a very funny way. You write about it. How did your friends, as you're growing up in Cleveland, how did they react to the fact that you seem to be a little bit sweet on us?
I think they didn't understand why, or even, growing up in Cleveland, now it's more of a hockey town, but it really wasn't growing up, hockey. It was just, I would be like, well, hockey season's starting. They'd be like, well, who cares, And
Wait a second, I'm old enough to remember the Cleveland Barons.
yeah, and
The NHL team, they were an NHL team.
briefly, yeah, and the Crusaders.
In the WHA?
Yeah. So, but it's still, it's not like, in grade school, there's maybe one or two kids who played hockey besides me, and everything else is just football, basketball, baseball. So that, and then, a lot of great bands. I'm a musician as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
saw that.
Power trios in Canada, it's almost cheating in Canada if you have more than 3 members, it seems, because you have Rush, Triumph, Exciter, No Means No, all these trios, So just tons of great bands from here as well.
You decided that you wanted to come and spend some time in Canada.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you've probably seen more of Canada than most Canadians have seen of Canada.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Everyone I talked to says, "Oh, I've never been there." So I feel like I still, I don't want to jump the gun with my publisher, but I feel like there's still more to see. But yeah, I still don't know another American who's been to Saskatchewan. I'm sure there are others, but I have not met them.
You've not met them, but there have to be some.
They got to be out there.
Can you just tell me, like, the business deal you made with the publisher, was it just give me a whack load of money so I can go to Canada, just spend time there, spend your money and have fun?
That was my secret plan. I mean, I ended up getting roped into writing the book and all that too, but my original plan was, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get this, I can go check out some hockey games and drink some Canadian beer, but it ended up being a lot more involved than that.
Yeah. We can put on the record right now that Canadian beer is way better than American beer, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna.
Indisputable.
It's indisputable.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
But it is indisputable.
Tell us, let's start with the visit to your grandfather's birthplace, Clinton.
Yeah. Clinton, Ontario.
Yeah.
I drove up there with my buddy Joe. I'd heard about it my whole life and seen pictures of, from the turn of the 20th century, just the old photos of the little farmhouse. There was like 10 of them in this tiny little...
You know it's a small place, and most of the people, 90% of the people watching this will have no idea where it is.
I know. I mean, we almost drove past it.
Yeah.
It's just pretty much one intersection, and it's a lovely intersection. Then they built there's a big house that's still there. I went, knocked on the door, got a little tour. They didn't let me in, wisely.
You kind of snuck around the place, right?
I scampered
First?
around.
Yeah.
And
looked kind of suspicious.
Yeah, well, we both had, coincidentally, my friend Joe and I both had army jackets on, which is a popular look of drifters. So we thought, I was like, this isn't gonna look good.
This is not suspicious looking at
all.
all.
We look like riffraff.
Yeah.
So I asked him to park down the street a little bit, and then we actually went twice, which is aggressive. But
Yeah.
I did meet the woman who lives there now. She was delightful. And she said some of my other relatives had pulled the same stunt.
Did you?
Previous decades.
They did they?
Yeah.
Did you feel more in touch with Grandpa's roots when you finally got to Clinton?
I did. Well, I wish he, I think he would have been pretty thrilled that I made. I think I'm the only one of my generation to have done it.
To have done it.
in
Good
my
for you.
Family, so.
We're not going to go in order here of the places that you visited, but we'll touch on some of the places that you went to. For example, you did get a chance to sample poutine.
I did. A lot of poutine.
Yeah, how much poutine?
It's in my system right now. I had it last night, which I know you're not really supposed to do outside of Quebec and what my friend Niels, who lives in Merrickville, calls curd country in Ontario. But I ate it without discretion whenever it was available.
And you liked it?
I love it. I think it's, the first time I had it was in Montreal, and I don't know if it was like I got involved with the wrong poutine person.
Sure.
Poutine, whoever makes the poutine.
Uh-huh.
But it was very bad, and I thought, well, it's not for me. But then that was pre-book, and then when it came time to research, I've had it quite literally whenever it's available on any menu.
It's grown on you.
Yeah, figuratively and literally. It's.
Got
I
it.
think it's good we don't have it really in America, because I'd probably be a diabetic or something. I don't know.
You went dog sledding.
I did.
Now that's something I guarantee you most Canadians have not done. How was that?
It was wild. I mean, I don't know. This is a family show, right?
It doesn't mean that you're not permitted to use unparliamentary language. We just have to be a bit careful.
Okay,
But
well,
go ahead.
what happened was my friend Carl and I, we went, it was very cold for starters. It was January in Quebec, which I don't recommend going there then, or living there then, or just anything there then. And we went dog sledding, and the dogs, at one point, there was a sled ahead of us. Carl and I were in one sled, and then there was another sled ahead of us, and we had to stop, and the dogs were sort of tangled. We couldn't see what was going on. And it turns out that two dogs just decided the emotions ran high, I guess, out there on the path, and they decided they couldn't
Wait.
yeah. So they, and I learned later, but I guess what happens when dogs mate.
You go into considerable detail about this in the book, which you might not want to do here on television.
No, but it's very impressive what happens. And there's a reason they get stuck together that I can't.
Yes, that you can't talk
I don't
about
know what
here.
your time slot is.
It's 8 o'clock at night, and there might be kids. Anyway, we don't need to get into that.
Get into it.
Yeah, but it was quite a sight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, like, oh, they might still be out there.
No, okay, we're moving on. You and your girlfriend visited Halifax, and you found a cannabis dispensary, and this was just before marijuana was legalized in Canada, right?
Yeah.
And it was a pretty interesting experience, and I'm going to ask you to turn to page 169 of your book and just read a bit of an excerpt of that experience, because I thought it was kind of funny. So
thank you.
All yours, Dave.
Okay, it sort of jumps right in. My girlfriend and I are in the cannabis shop with this couple who runs it. So, my girlfriend asked, "You guys married?" "No," the girl answered, "but we've got a couple kids." "2 kids already?" I asked, just making conversation. "You guys seem pretty young to have 2 kids." "We're both 24, the girl said. "He has 6 kids altogether." "You mean 4 more in addition to the 2 you have together?" I asked. "That's amazing." "Yep," the boyfriend said with a smile. "A couple of them are twins, too." "It would be kind of weird if just one of them was a twin," I replied. "Huh?" the boyfriend said. "Nothing. Anyway, how did you manage to have 4 other kids already?" I asked in a totally non-judgmental way. "We split up a couple times," the girl explained. "It happened then." "You really make the most of your downtime, huh?" I asked the boyfriend. "Yeah," he said, blushing a bit. "I was in prison for a while, too, so it wasn't easy."
When all this is happening, I can just imagine you, the author, thinking to yourself, this is gold, baby. This is gold. I got to remember all this.
Yeah, well, part of the thing is, you have to, and my other books were essay collections, and I just had to remember stuff. But this, I was showing up kind of like, what's going to happen? And so when those sorts of things happen, I was pretty excited. And the book actually helped me get over my shyness a bit, because I had to walk in to marijuana dispensaries and bars and get to know people.
Which you did.
Yeah, I did. Sometimes more than I wanted to.
I want to read another little excerpt from your book now. Sheldon, if you would, bring this graphic up. Here's the top of page 3. Aside from Clinton, Ontario, birthplace of my grandfather, Clarence Blake, the place in Canada I was most curious about, and perhaps even felt the most spiritually connected to, with regard to my overall Canadianness, was Winnipeg, Manitoba. And we want to know why, Dave. Why Winnipeg?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Winnipeg, my grandfather moved there when he was 15 to work in a shirt factory, which seems crazy to move 2,000 miles to work. And when you're 15, you should be like in your parents' basement, I guess, not working in it. But it was a different time. And so he did, and it paid off, because he wound up being working in menswear, specializing in golf attire. So it was something like I don't know. He was on a mission. He just knew menswear. So, but I wanted to go there and just. I'm sure Winnipeg is quite different now than it was back in those shirt factory days. But that was part of the book. I wanted to retrace my relatives' steps as often as I could. So I had a few wild days in Winnipeg, and weirdly, I would say that Winnipeg is the Cleveland of Canada.
You know, you're not just whistling Dixie. They've got a few similarities.
Yeah, they kind of have a similar vibe.
Yeah.
You know, they're both places, as I learned the hard way, is Winnipeggers can make fun of Winnipeg. Clevelanders can make fun of Cleveland. But if you're not from those places, you can't. You gotta watch it.
And I kind of did that right off the top of this interview. I stepped in it. I'm sorry about that.
No,
I'll take
it's
it
fine.
Back. I'll take it back. I like Cleveland. I've been there many times. It's got a great baseball stadium.
It's
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I would argue it's the Winnipeg of America.
You could make that argument. I want to do a bit of a hard turn with you here because you know there is some serious stuff in this book, including some of the stuff you learned about the Indigenous people of Canada and the situation that they have had to endure for many, not just decades, but centuries. And you learned about the 60 scoop, for example. And I want to know, you know, what you sort of made out of the experiences and new knowledge that you got about the Indigenous situation here.
Well, I really didn't. I was aware, of course, that there are Indigenous Canadians, but I didn't know the history, you know, the details of it. And the 60 scoop I learned actually for the first time from a bartender in Winnipeg, because he was adopted and said one day he got a phone call and learned, you know, that he didn't even realize he was an Indigenous Canadian, and that's how he learned of it. And so I started reading about that, and you know, and when I was traveling, I was posting photos of where I was going throughout Canada, and an Indigenous filmmaker in Regina, Trudy Stewart, wrote to me and said, "Hey, you know, what are you doing going all over Canada?" And I said, I'm writing this book. And she said, "Oh, if you come to Saskatchewan, let me know." So I hung out with her for a couple of days in Moose Jaw and Regina, and I learned a lot from her. And you know, she makes films about the subject, and I learned about the residential schools and saw a lot of great Indigenous artwork. There's a great artist, Kent Monkman, who does a lot of his work incorporates, you know, 60 scoop and residential schools, and it's pretty horrifying stuff. Not his artwork. His artwork's beautiful, but the subject matter. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I touch on it in the book, but you know, I just scratched the surface, obviously.
Indeed, of course. Well, that wasn't the focus of the book, but
No.
I'm glad you got some exposure to that and can take it to your readers. I want to ask you about, because clearly, I think a lot of Canadians think that we are sort of a kinder, gentler version of Americans. And, you know, you pointed out that even the buses, when they come rolling through town, if they're on the way to the garage and they can't pick you up, what does it say on the bus?
Yeah, they say sorry.
It says sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So did the stereotype that Americans think about us come true from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally Canadians are maybe a bit more polite, but I did learn that sorry, that word is not necessarily I'd sort of, if I can say this, it's sort of like the F word, where it has many different meanings. Some of them are actually the F word. You know, I think sorry can be an apology or an excuse me, or it can mean, it's like, I sort of liken it to, it's like a human car horn. Just, you can use it for many reasons.
How many countries have you been to in the world where if you bump into me, I say sorry? That's what happens in Canada, right?
Yeah. But like I said, I think it doesn't always mean sorry.
But it's, most of the time that it's happened in my life, it's not been a harsh reaction.
No.
You know, it's you're genuinely sorry that there was this collision,
incident.
even though I'm not at fault.
Yeah. I think that's a nice. It doesn't quite go that way in America.
No, not quite.
But I think it's complicated. I think it has to do with history and the American Revolution, and I think the American Revolution did something to the American psyche to where they're not as polite.
Well,
we're not as polite.
I don't know if you mentioned this in the book. I can't recall reading in the book, but you know your big words, going back to 1776, our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And our big words, going back to Confederation in 1867, are peace, order, and good government.
Not as fun, but not bad.
It's a good summation, actually. Not as fun, but not bad. Your editors did warn you that when you came to Toronto, you were going to see a lot of a-holes.
Oh, yeah.
Did that come true?
I didn't want to get into this, but yeah, it did come true quite a bit. Well, specifically, I went to a Blue Jays game. In the stadium, they have a giant Blue Jays logo, and you can get I thought I'd get my picture with the giant Blue Jay. That'll be great, right? Break up the day a little bit. And I wait in line to get my picture, and then I get to the point where they're gonna ask me for money. And I was like, whatever it is, I'll pay it. And they said, well, this is for children. And I said, what if you're a middle-aged man? And they said, well, you have to have a child with you. And I'm sort of looking around the stadium, seeing some kid I can remember. But then I was like, this is going to lead to another problem.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the picture. So that was the big glaring, my anti-Toronto story, basically.
It goes beyond that, actually. You tried to pay for a picture that they wouldn't let you take. You tried to pay for a moose that they wouldn't let you buy for another 11 days because it wasn't for
Well, that
sale
was
yet.
in Clinton.
That was in Clinton. And there was a third one, too, where you wanted to buy, curling shoes. They wouldn't sell you curling shoes either, so you could go curling.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
we're a bit of a weird
This is
time.
really, I've been trying to not to use foul language on this show, but I may have reached my breaking point.
Go ahead. Say what you have to say.
This guy was a real jerk.
Them's fighting words, baby.
Yeah, my friend Niels, we were in Merrickville, and he took me to the curling place. I'm sure there's a different name for it.
Rink?
Yeah, sure. We go there, and he says, oh, this is my buddy Dave. He's up from America. He wants to try curling. And he said, well, you don't have curling shoes. And I said, well, where can I get curling shoes? And he said, well, we sell them here. And I said, all right, I would like one pair of curling shoes, please. He said, we're not going to sell you curling shoes. Like, he was just dangled it and then yanked it away. And then, adding insult to injury, he showed us the curling sheets or whatever. And so it was just teasing us even more. And I still have yet to curl. But you know what, mister? I don't want to curl. Can I look in the camera when I say that?
Do it.
I don't want to curl, Merrickville curling
Person.
Oh.
I think we're in our last couple of minutes here, and we have to hit the big scandal of your book right on the head, which is the fact that you really are not who you say you were. Right. You told us at the beginning of this book that you're a quarter Canadian, which is why you wanted to come here and explore your roots. And as it turns out, mister, you are a big, fat, poutine-eating liar about that.
Yeah.
You want to fess up?
Oh, this is hard to talk about. Yeah, I spent my whole life thinking I was quarter Canadian, and then in research, I called my aunt, basically.
Research.
Yeah, and she sort of holds the keys to Canadian knowledge in the family. And I was in, she was, remind me, why are you writing this book again? And I said, well, because, Grandpa was Canadian. That makes me a quarter Canadian. I'm writing the greatest book about Canada ever written by a non-Canadian, something like that. And she said, well, you're not a quarter Canadian. You're my great-grandfather, not his father, but his wife, my grandmother, her dad, whom I thought was Irish my whole life, had been Canadian the whole time. So that makes me, I'm not a mathematician either.
You're not a mathematician.
But it's more than a quarter.
Right.
And it's jarring.
Let's face it, you've been living a lie.
I've been living a lie, and I mean, it's a bit of a spoiler, because it does come pretty late in the book, and then it calls to you, as a reader, I imagine, will say, like, well, do I have to start over?
You've been perpetrating essentially a crime and a cover-up, basically through the whole book.
Yeah, so I don't know. This is like, did you guys get a hold of the James Fry scandal?
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
It's kind of like that.
Except I don't think you're going to end up on Oprah talking about it.
See, there goes insult to injury.
Sorry.
I won't get the sales.
I said sorry again.
Well, it is kind of your fault.
Because that's what we do. One last thing. Today's Canadian Thanksgiving. Now that you're 3/8 or 5/8 or whatever eighths Canadian, you going to celebrate ours or just yours next month?
I would very much like to celebrate yours as well. In fact, if anyone's watching,
and wants to take Dave out for poutine, he's open to it.
I mean, I guess they could write to me on Instagram. I got kicked off of Twitter.
Yes, you did.
But they could write to me on Instagram, just say, hey, Dave, just DM me the address. I will be there with a case of Molson or whatever you want. Just name it.
I laughed a lot reading this book, I got to tell you. It's very well done. Parking the Moose, one American's epic quest to uncover his incredible, and they are incredible, Canadian roots.
Thank you.
Dave, it's good to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.